Alright, now we are using the maintenance access to enter the medical facility. How degrading, but to be fair, we are Batman, so, well.
Heh.
I want all the doctors rounded up. Search every inch of the medical building. I mean it. Search every room, every office, and every trash can. If another doctor tries to run and get out of the building, then you won't. I'll just flood the rooms with happy gas and leave you to die. Hell, I may do that anyway. Sounds fun.
Also, there is something that I haven't mentioned from something we got from the previous part. The bio of Jack Ryder is strongly tied to his appearance in the animated series, meaning about also his tends to have his own psychosis, which leads to the character of the Creeper. When we meet Jack Ryder in the later games, there is not even a trace of that.
Oh.
Anyway, this is instead now a place where the Predator section has some hostages. Since it's still early in the game, the hostages will not really be too much in danger, so you don't have to really worry. It's more like starting for the next couple of games, there will be the mechanics of some of the guns taking hostages if they are alerted to your presence.
Yeah, like, for my playthroughs of City, I don't think I ever got to the point where, like, they were able to get their hands on a hostage for the Predator sequences specifically, save for
Usually
the one
that happens,
scripted section, which is, like, the first ever
Wonder
Predator.
Tower.
Well, not just that, but also, like, the first ever Predator section of the game, essentially, in the church.
Okay.
And even still, I don't think they're really in the way.
Also, weird thing, if you're more used to the sequel, you cannot do a takedown from the grates in this game. They're just there for, moving around.
God.
Okay, why am I seeing them? Why are we? When we're in this mode, why am I seeing their walking skeletons? It's really creepy.
That's
It's like an
detective
X-ray.
vision for you, essentially, which can work for some immense foreshadowing in some cases.
Yeah.
That
Also
said,
so,
oh, you're gonna do that move on them, aren't you?
well, let's see if they actually, actually get there. Need to maybe grab their attention a bit.
But yeah, no, like, it is, again, I like Arkham Asylum, but again, I'll admit, I don't come to it as often for gameplay, so looking back, it really is interesting seeing a lot of this early installment weirdness, like, again, not being able to do the takedown from the grate, and more noticeably the fact that the detective vision definitely looks a lot more plain here compared to how it will in future games. Like,
Also,
you think...
the more distinction in the color, because later games, instead of having this bright red for gun arm enemies, they would be a more tranquil orange shade.
And also, the backgrounds will be more silhouetted, like have deeper hues to them as well.
Fix your blood pressure permanently.
What kind of hospital is this? Looks more like a torture room.
I mean, again, this takes cues from the story Arkham Asylum, A Serious House on Serious Earth, which, while not necessarily the codifier of reshaping Arkham Asylum as this gothic horror-like castle-like structure, it definitely popularized it a bit because Grant Morrison is a very influential author, as a result, a lot of people took whatever was written, like in that story, not very seriously, but as inspiration.
I do think part of the issue is that it's kind of at odds with all the lore bits we get for the Arkhamverse, because everything in, like, the patient tapes and the documents seems to suggest that at the very least the staff at present are legit good people. Save for one, but we'll tackle her later. But for the most part...
let me say that, like, a few of the staff definitely are not necessarily corrupt, but definitely want something more out of the situation. It's more also the case that Arkham Asylum, A Serious House on Serious Earth, it's a very very difficult to digest story, especially if you're not super used to comic books, because the artwork, I don't remember who was the artist, is just a bit of a pain in the ass to deal with. There's a lot of painted stuff, very not expressive stuff, but like it's very smooshed. It's not. It's kind of the antithesis of what instead Frank Miller, draws.
I'd say it gets even weirder than that. But
how long is this bit gonna go on? You trying to lure this guy?
Wait for it. There we go.
Patience lives. It's the tool requirement of a hunter.
Trust the process.
But no, again, and the story itself, while ultimately comprehensible to an extent, really requires you to do a bit of a double take in a lot of pages to understand what is going on. Not to mention the whole, matter of psychology dealing with it.
Mm-hmm. What's this?
I'm at the door. Nothing here.
About that. I think the only one that takes the cake over that is the one where Batman literally bursts his arms through the walls to get the guy.
What happened? Just wait. Come on.
Shh. Just accept it. You got much less of a beatdown than most guys get with Batman.
Hello? Is there a doctor in the house?
Yeah, no, sorry.
I seem to have a pile.
They're gonna be fine.
The room's clear. You're safe now.
See, there's also this thing you might have noticed already, but Batman is not particularly gentle in these games.
Let me over here.
1 minute we were doing our evening rounds, and the next, armed thugs burst into the room and took us hostage.
Did they have anyone with them?
They took someone into the elevator. I couldn't tell who it was.
They obviously didn't want to be followed. The elevator appears to have been powered down. You're going to be okay here.
We'll be fine.
What about the others? We heard gunfire. They could be dead.
Also, yeah, if you have familiarity with stuff like the Gears of War games or similar, you will recognize immediately this game was done with Unreal Engine 3.
Batman saved us. I never really believed he.
It was a bit of a pain in the ass to actually deal with when it was around. Anyway, now our new objective is to rescue 3 specific doctors that are scattered throughout the medical department. Including one Dr. Young. We have met her at the beginning.
Also, remember some of these doctors' names? They also show up in some of the voice tapes.
Yes,
which is also why I mentioned that the voice tape seems to suggest that at least most of the staff are legit and aren't just torturing their villains, which I appreciate.
No. Again, only a few of them legitimately are just a bit sadistic, admittedly. A couple of them are just idiots, unfortunately.
I'd say Gretchen's actually legit. She's the German one we saw earlier. Going off of the voice tape, she's actually competent, does want to help, but is not afraid to put her foot down with some of the Arkham patients who, as you'll see, are very incorrigible.
Okay, we will hear more about that later, obviously. Alright, let's get another upgrade and see if we get a funny image as a result.
Yeah.
I love just how it looks. But yeah, so thanks to that particular upgrade, you'll be able to perform inverted takedowns from gargoyles if you want. You can potentially either just hang around and then move from there, or directly from the beginning. Anyway, yeah, Killer Croc was actually fairly recent as a villain. Late Bronze Age, possible early Dark Age.
So, folks, like I've mentioned before, Arkham Asylum was a gigantic success, but it wasn't just a big enough success that it got sequels. No. It was a big enough success that it is basically its own world in the Elseworlds category of DC. It has an actual ride dedicated to it. Even further, it has a movie or two animated,
Assault
of
on
course, dedicated to it.
Assault on Arkham, but that alone is very confusing in how it's supposed to be placed in the timeline, because it's supposed to follow events from Origins and Origins Blackgate, but the chronology, the placement of characters does not match really.
It's set before the first Asylum game, which I take well enough. But, of course, what else does Arkham Asylum have tied to it? Comics. A lot of comics.
Like I mentioned this when we were doing the Ratchet and Clank games. Again, this particular game did add one, if I recall correctly, just a single issue, which was a light prequel that talked about if I recall correctly, Aaron Cash and Batman apprehending the Joker, setting up the events. Arkham City did add like 2 separate miniseries, which were like fine from what little that I skimmed through. Origins as a single issue, but it's a choose your own adventure story, which I don't really understand at all why they did that. Maybe it was just a promotional kind of thing. And Night is like as a main series, a maxi series, but it's like I think like 30 plus issues long, plus a couple of other tie-in to it, which each of them are like 6 to 12 issues long. It's insane.
I swear,
no,
WB
for the safety of the audience and everyone else, I will just give it a quick look in between games and tell you what it's really needed to see.
Let me put it like this. I think that with the mentality being that Arkham Knight was going to be the end of a series, WB definitely wanted to get as much money as they could have. So, of course, spin-offs. I haven't read the Arkham Knight comics. I haven't heard whether they're really good or bad. I will say this, though. It says something that I think this is the only other DC game aside from Injustice to get a comic book series running for so long.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, let's be fair, even the other games at best did had just like a promotional single issue comic like Batman Dark Tomorrow, or as we noted, also Superman 64.
Yeah. Anyway, going back to the topic of the personnel, on that camera we were seeing footage from the woman voiced by Cree Summer herself, a chief psychiatrist at Arkham Asylum by the name of Penelope Penny Young.
Which is the one we're actually to rescue right now.
And you can tell she's important because she's voiced by Cree Summer. I mean, gotta give props to Cree Summer. Ever since her childhood, she had an impeccable voice acting career with stuff like, God, was she called Penny in Inspector Gadget too?
I don't think I heard that much in terms of, the original Double Inspector Gadget.
Well, my point is like, I'm just trying to remember the character's name. Yeah. Yeah, she was called Penny there as well, but yeah, no, Penny, the daughter of Inspector Gadget, to love her or hate her, Elmira Duff from Tiny Toons and Elmira Pinking and the Brain, to all the stuff she's doing nowadays. I feel like very rarely does she ever get put in like a bit part.
Is it true the Joker escaped?
Unfortunately, yes.
Imagine Joker escaping.
I've been studying Joker's case for months when he broke out.
Also, sometimes the camera wants to get way too close to Batman's face.
Yes, imagine trying to get someone's name from their badges in this world. What's your name? I'm Doctor...
I'm the Doctor, but Doctor Who?
Oh, Dr. Penny Young. There you go.
It's dangerous out there.
Yeah, just clip through those guys' bodies as you walk casually, miss. You're fine.
She did mention
that... Is she a character in the comics that can phase through anything?
No. You might have noticed from her dialogue that she seemed to be in a bit of a hurry wanting something back. Sure, it's nothing important.
It turns out she's Joker's current lead psychiatrist. Sure, that's not important at all.
Harley Quinn the second.
No.
You joke, but that's actually been a thing in some continuities. Most notably Batman White Knight.
But it was only after the arrival of Patient X that our expectations were raised.
That's our expectations.
Hilarious.
We must all thank our benefactors for this opportunity.
We represent all medical specialties and offer a wide range of medical, surgical, diagnostic.
Alright, like in any good hospital, just follow the lines and you'll find the others if you need to. Although as you can see, there you go, just to get some extra collectibles.
Yeah, basically the Riddler trophies condition you to check any suspicious pathways along the way.
Any nook and cranny is worth something.
Again, as long as you do that, I don't think you'll need to backtrack for Riddler trophies in this game.
No, there are some places where you require specific gadgets to break, and you cannot, do that immediately.
Okay. I guess it still never felt too bad for me because Arkham Asylum feels a lot smaller compared to the sequels.
Yeah.
So if you see a giant monster,
I forget if I asked, what's your specific favorite Arkham game? Or...
I think Night. Again, hilariously enough, mostly, again, gameplay oriented, because if you had to judge these games for the story, ironically enough, Asylum is probably the better of a bunch, mostly not necessarily for how self-contained it is, but the tone is probably at its best. Because starting with City, things tend to have a turn for the more bittersweet, but mostly leading to the bitter side of things. In order to create pathos and having, a narrative that emphasizes, emotional value for the characters involved. Oh, poor Aaron Cash. The stories a lot of times need to feel very desperate, and even in moments of triumph, they still need to say, "Oh, but you sacrificed this much," as a result, in order to achieve this.
Joker doesn't like failures, so you should be eating himself a lot now.
And it can get, frustrating. Also, funny you say that, Blitz, there's the infamous boner story in one of the issues Batman, where Joker literally weaponizes what you just said. Because he actually committed what back then was called a boner, as in, a mistake, he tries to actually make it his new gimmick and try to recreate the quote-unquote famous mistakes or boners of history into, his next crimes, which is kind of neat as a concept, and it works for the most part. So, props for whoever wrote that. I forgot if it was still Bill Finger or someone else.
I kind of do feel a bit sorry that the only reason that story is remembered as widely as it is now is because of, well, the
term. I mean, it's kind of like with the term gooning, Jova. Sometimes, unfortunately, things happen. So it escape our control.
Well, what I feel sad for him is I feel like that story wouldn't be memorized much if it weren't for the boner thing. I mean, not to say that it's a bad story, but at the end of the day, it was kind of just one of many Joker plots. You never saw...
That was kind of the role with the Silver Age, Jova, to be honest. It was just the wacky shenanigans of the day, and then we move on to the next, which that in itself was not a problem, but was more a testament to how the industry back then was not necessarily saturated, but felt very comfortable in its relatively samey attitude.
I mainly bring it up because there were still some standout stories.
It was mostly a DC thing. Marvel was doing relatively fine. It was only having just a more light-hearted side to it than it was before stuff like, the X-Men runs, where they started talking about social issues.
That is kind of the ironic thing. For as much as people talk about how wacky the Silver Age was, that's mostly stuff we can attribute to just DC doing whatever they wanted to. Marvel...
Which is extra ironic, because instead, supposedly, the mark of the transitioning from Silver to Bronze Age was a Marvel story, night when Gwen Stacy died.
Which, to be fair, given how earth-shattering that was as a concept for comics, I guess I can get why.
It was also because it was the story that was talking more in depth, not just about the death of Gwen Stacy, but Harry Osborn's drug problems and Norman Osborn's in-depth psychosis.
Huh, one of Riddler's tapes, neat. Also, I forget.
We'll get to those also later.
I think they gave Aaron Cash like a robot hand in later Arkham games since he's.
No, he still has just his hook.
Huh.
As far as the games are concerned, he just has his hook. Maybe I haven't seen Assault on Arkham in a very long time, but I don't remember if he shows up even in that.
I mainly have trouble remembering because for as much as I do frequent the Arkham games, I don't always take a clear look at him. I feel like in order to operate the guns he has in later games, he'd need to have 2 functioning hands, but again, that might just be me misremembering.
Yeah, because he's mostly, right-handed, so when it comes to the trigger, he's fine just with, one hand.
He just needs the other one to steady it.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
that's... It's just, shaped like an actual hook.
So that's Young and Cash taken care of.
Only one doctor remaining.
Move slowly to their accommodation.
What a lovely present.
Plenty of Joker teeth to destroy, essentially.
Thankfully, I don't remember if I mentioned those in a previous part, but they only serve as collectibles. They do not actually hurt you, but they're there just to be a collectible, which are also counted as Riddler on the checklist, basically, for Riddler stuff. Oh, look at that, it's an ambush. If you have detective mode enabled, you can see them coming from a mile away.
Mm-hmm.
Batman!
Don't speak. You're safe now.
But it's a trap.
I know. Just not for me.
It's true. You really are the world's greatest detective.
I mean, he's Batman.
What the hell? Get down there, boys.
Yes, this starring Vince Diesel as Batman. It's about the Bat family.
Which, funny, we were talking about some issues with story. Lord knows, they like to play up the drama with the Bat family and stuff like City and Night.
That is because one of the other big inspirations from this story, we didn't really mention. Okay, aside from Arkham Asylum, Serious House, on Serious Earth, when it comes to this particular, game, the other stories that it gets inspired by are mostly just from the animated series rather than proper comic book. Again, Arkham Asylum, Serious House, on Serious Earth is the big one, with a bit of Arkham Asylum living hell sprinkled in, but not that much.
Yourself, Bats. I'm just softening you up. Think of this as a preview to the main event.
When it comes instead to the other games, that's when we will start to have more heavy inspiration from the comic book, like No Man's Land, Nightfall, Joker Last Laugh, and especially stuff like The Dark Knight Returns, but also inspiration from the Nolan movies. Because remember, this was 2008, 2009, so The Dark Knight had just come out, so it was still relatively fresh in order for us to, take inspiration from.
I remember.
Oh, goody, Dr. Elliot is in this somehow. Because you don't know, that's the identity of Hush, aka Sergio Mummy with a trench coat that quotes Aristotle.
I swear, let me put it like this. Hush has quite a legacy behind him, for better or for worse. Some argue he gets better with time, others argue that he's only good for his debut story, and then there's what the animated adaptation movie tried to pull to improve on him.
I mentioned this when we did Gotham by Gaslight, but I hate what they did to the animated adaptation of Batman Hush.
It's actually one of those things that's so different, I dare not spoil, because you will not see it coming. But
anyway, all 3 doctors are rescued. Let's move on back to the base.
Time for my hot take. I actually feel like Origins gets probably the best overall writing and story of the bunch, which, to many might seem sacrilege, but I feel like Origins is the one that actually lets Batman develop for the better, mind you, have good character dialogue overall, and actually have a pretty heart-pounding story, I'd say.
That one is taking inspiration from stuff like Batman Year One, The Long Halloween, and a bit of a Killing Joke.
And I will just say
also
this.
Nightfall.
And I would just say this, I'm glad we're to a point where people aren't picking on Origins as much as they used to. Because holy cow, that game was treated like...
I mean, I'm playing it right now for sake of recording, and I can find other things to pick it up to, mainly just how fucking weirdly unoptimized it still is despite everything. Like, I was hoping that by this point the glitches would have been kept to a minimum, and mind you, when I played it on my own months ago, it was fine for the most part, but only when I started recording, of course, the glitches start popping up.
Beautiful recording, Chris. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I won't act like Origins is perfect, and sadly, it wasn't always the best optimized, but my point is people going on and, again, not helped by the companies themselves, not even including Origins and Arkham collections and whatnot, like... People were really treating Origins like it was the bane of all existence, which, okay.
Bane.
Okay, part of me kind of gets it. One could argue Origins was kind of a reskin city at launch and whatnot, but to be fair, it had a completely different team who were kind of given, like, not that much to work with. I forget how much time they even had to work on it, but... all things
2
considered...
years, remember, Arkham City was 2011, Origins 2013.
Right, 2 years at most, considering and all that, and I forget if it was supposed to be time for a holiday release.
They also had to develop the multiplayer mode, which nobody cared about.
Right, the multiplayer mode, even
which
I
you will
forgot
not see
about
because
it.
it has been discontinued.
Oops. You know, don't you just love when a game developed so much time and resources to a mode that kind of ends up flunking and therefore kind of drags down the thing, but hey, justifies a full price point. Looking at you, Resident Evil Resistance.
Alright, let's get down.
Too easy. Oh, think about it. I've got you trapped in a little metal box, hanging precariously over a deadly drop. What say I just blow the emergency brakes and drop you like a
That's
sack
not
of
very in the style of the Joker,
Say
come on.
good night, bats. Boom!
Yeah.
Only kidding. Got
Very
a few more
hilarious.
surprises in store for you.
Though he might have been able to get Batman there, though, to be... Oh.
All of them!
Oh, you're right, Bruce.
It's just a bit of a cough I've got.
Need to cover better your, your neck and stuff. But I'm sure it's nothing.
Yeah, no, like, Origins has flaws, but I'm glad we're at least off the point where people were treating it like it was the worst thing to happen to the series, which, again, kind of ironic given how Arkham Knight started out and whatnot, but yeah, no, I do think Origins probably has at least probably the best cut of a narrative of the bunch, I'd say.
We shall see in due time then. For the time being, let's see what happens when Batman gets on the basement of the medical facility. See ya.
See you then.
See ya.